The body has been known, though, every once in a while to break a little bit of a sweat, when we get fighting off some sort of disease, some sort of foreign substance. Now it's working hard to get rid of something. We probably had something to do with introducing that something into the body, but it doesn't hold a grudge. It just goes ahead and does whatever it wants to, while it's doing everything else. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the brain is managing the work of running the body. And the body, in return, keeps the brain safe, floating in its own little hot tub, right up here so it can see everything. It's like a room with a view. And even as the brain is doing all of this work, it seems to be there when we want or need it. Most of the time, at least for me. Sometimes I call on it. It's like, I'm busy. The brain is suggested that it hides or that it holds our consciousness, actually, so that we can be aware of earthly pleasures. It lets us appreciate smells and tastes. Yeah, most of them. I'm not a big fan of beets or green peppers. I don't know if anyone wants to hang out with that, see, right? So we don't really appreciate those, okay. And it helps us navigate the world as we experience and express Gus in our variety of ways. I did dance a little bit about the brain housing the consciousness because, quite honestly, I believe the consciousness is right here. I believe that our soul, our spirit lives in the heart. We can talk about that later if you like. But when we're listening, when we become aware of the messages of the heart, when we listen to that still small voice, the brain then translates it for us. See, so it's another example of how the whole thing is working perfectly. And speaking of the brain, what is it in you that thinks? Mary, I'm giving you fodder for your discussion later. You want to think about thinking? Go ahead. Get lost in that one for a while. Follow Alice down that particular hole. I was doing a little homework on that. Did you know that thinking about thinking is called metacognition? It's the idea of, it's almost like looking at that row of mirrors like that. It just goes on forever. Metacognition is an awareness of how we think. One example they gave is being aware of the fact that you don't really remember people's names in social situations. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm metacognitive. Nice to meet you. Again. Yeah, I don't. I'm one of those guys who doesn't remember people's names. Don't take it personal. I'm metacognitive. It's my badge. Here's another amazing feature of this body of ours. Did you know that the blood does a complete lap around the body? A couple of times a minute, several times a minute, while making a pit stop in your kidneys and your liver for filtering. I'm surprised we don't feel that, when it goes around these corners. It does it so effortlessly. And when an injury happens, the body temple, sends those little handyman cells that immediately go to work to fix it. Almost before you can say, ow. The healing process has already started. And by chance, if you are unfortunate enough or fortunate enough, because there's goodness everywhere, to have an injury that suggests you might lose an arm or use of your body, then your body adjusts again and keeps us fully functioning on the earth plane, doing whatever it is we need to do. Now, though, we have to get the mind involved, because the mind has to adjust too. As powerful and as awesome as the body is, our mind is so much more powerful. I expect you've all heard of that ability that we have to heal ourselves. It's true. It's been proven over and over and over again. So let's bring that mind, our mind, which is the mind of Gus, conscious mind, not the brain, divine mind. That's really the part of us that's never born, that's never died, that is here and everywhere, always and forever. The brain comes with the body. It functions as the body needs it to do. But right now I want to talk about our mind and our access to that mind itself. Couple that mind with not just believing, but knowing that we have the power to affect change. And if you don't believe it, like 100%, that's what we have practitioners for. I think Jesus was a practitioner. We hear stories about him healing people, and there's this one that I really haven't come to grips with, because there's these references about the guy. Remember he healed this guy who couldn't walk, this beggar? But in my mind, he didn't do anything. He said, get up and walk. I think he said, pick up your mat and walk. And the guy got up, and he picked up his mat and walked. Jesus believed so completely and totally, without doubt, knew it, that the man could walk. And the man borrowed his belief. And that's how that works. Here's another example. Anybody taken a Mary Morrissey class? She talks about her story, her awakening, if you will. It has to do with, what was she, 18 or something, close to dying in the hospital. One kidney just about dead, the other kidney working about 50%. It was to the point where the chaplain came into the room the night before the surgery. She asked Mary if she could see herself being healed. And Mary goes, yeah, no. Because she had bought in completely to the diagnosis. She had bought in completely to the prognosis. Further conversation with the chaplain uncovered the idea that even though she didn't believe it for herself, Mary said, I believe that you believe it. And the chaplain says, okay, there's that little bit of light. We can work with that. So she had her walk through the visualization of taking all of the toxins in her body and putting them over in this kidney, leaving this one completely normal. And then they visualized having a long and healthy life. They visualized being healthy. They visualized her kids graduating, getting married, grandkids, and she did that work. The doctors took out the bad kidney and gave her, 6 months to live. Follow-up visits showed that the remaining kidney had completely rejuvenated and was now functioning normally. And there's no medical explanation for it. Powerful, positive thinking coupled with absolute belief, absolute knowing can accomplish amazing things. Powerful, positive thinking coupled with knowing. And we get dangerous. We have the power to create. We are that power. So let's use that power to create a beautiful love for your body temple. This is the one we're housed in. This is the one that carries us around so we can have this experience regardless of what it looks like. Remember what Bruce said last week? How do you feel about your body? Do you want to be taller, thinner, more athletic? Bruce is still working on his hair. You have a little more this week than you did last week. This is what I'm thinking, yeah, see? It's kind of a hairy situation, if you will, but he's got this. Learn to love your body the way it is now. Are there things that you'd like to change? Sure. Go ahead. Just do it. Do you want to lose weight? Again, it starts with your mindset. There's a couple of ways to go about this. You have to decide that you want this, and then you have to go and do whatever it takes to make it happen. But there's another thing. I have a friend who lost a fair amount of weight simply because she changed her thinking. Decided that she loved herself and didn't need what a lot of people call this protection. And just changing a little self-acceptance, just adding a little self-love to it, dropped a fair amount of weight. Our attitudes about ourselves have a lot to do with how we carry ourselves, and then ultimately how we look. Remember? Mind first, physical manifestation later. And as we work towards accepting ourselves as we are, the natural byproduct of that is actually trying to treat our body with more respect. It starts with feeding it healthy food. Now, some people want to go, boom, and I'm just going to cut out everything bad and start with this. Some people do it naturally. But if you start with the mind and you make that decision that this is what you want to do, going in that direction is a very natural thing. It almost happens without you trying. No beats. Just saying. Anyone ever heard of the blue zones? There are 7 areas in the world with a larger than average number of centenarians. And they're pockets. And so someone said, and they went and did this homework and they found out about these blue zones. And there's a number of things that identify these pockets that is consistent among all the people in it and consistent around the blue zones. I won't get into that right now, but one of them is eating. People who live in these blue zones eat a preponderance of real food, whole food, healthy food. They're going 90% plant-based diets. And we are people. If you want a piece of meat or a steak or something, go ahead. Just don't live there. I like to say, do you want to live a long time or you just want it to seem like it's a long time? You know, we have to have fun while we're here and have some enjoyment. But another part of that is to stop eating when you're almost full. I think when we feel about 80% full, the rest of the food hasn't gotten all the way down there. So they say about 80% full, probably not to stress the system. I think it's because we want to have room for dessert. Use your mind. Believe that you are healthy. And then visualize that. Love and respect this body temple. And your body has no choice but to follow. And that's the way it works. Because we are spirit. We are as Gus. We are spiritual beings. We are housed in a physical body, and we are having a human experience. Many meditations start by getting us in touch with our bodies. Feel your seat in the chair, feel your feet, feel your breath. And what that is that we consciously connect to our spiritual side and align it with the physical space on earth. And that's how you get the whole thing to line up present in the present moment. Experiencing and feeling the physicality of this life is one of the main reasons I believe we're here. Spirit is just mind. Spirit is everywhere. Spirit is always. Spirit knows of itself, but probably is not aware of it because it just is. So I believe that we're here in order to allow spirit to experience itself. So why would we think ill of our bodies? Why wouldn't we appreciate what we have? If we don't, we're not appreciating that bigger sense of life itself. Reminds me of a song I won't sing, but God Bless the Child, Billie Holiday. I knew she sang it. I didn't realize she actually wrote that. Them what's got shall have. Them what's got shall get. Them what's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and still it's news. Them that's got, them that will believe they already have, them that will visualize an abundance mindset, them what visualize healthy, they've got. Because that's the way this works. And them what not, them what have a lack mentality, them what are not happy, you just get more of that. Because as we know, in the metaphysical world, likes attract. That's a mystical message. Mystical messages to me are consistent throughout all of time because they're the truth. We call that a capital T truth. It just is. And here's another way to look at it. We believe that we are as Gus is. Yes? Yes, thank you. Then to think less of ourselves, in this case your bodies, means to think less of Gus. Do we really want to think less of all that is? This is from the Essential Ernest Holmes. There's a cosmic pattern at the center of every organ of our physical body. Our body is some part of the body of God. It is a manifestation of supreme spirit. And it could be extreme too. Our body, the body of God, is a manifestation of that spirit. It has all of that in it. And we're not going to get any closer to Gus by denying any aspect of the total. Right now, this week, we're talking about our body. Each of your body temples is created for you. It is your own personal place to live. It's very personal. And quite honestly, we're just renting it for a few years. Don't you want to treat it right so that we can live in it and it can serve us comfortably the way it's designed to do? Learn to love your body now, not 10 pounds from now, not after you run the race. There will always be goals. Putting off your love, putting off that love, which is actually now conditional. I'm only going to love you if. It's contingent upon reaching a goal. And if you're always working for that space over there, you're going to miss what happens between here and there. You don't want to miss out on the journey. This is our life. Be here for it. And don't put off that love of yourself. Don't put that off till later. That later bus will never come. Whatever we look like on the outside, remember that we are carried around in a perfect machine, one that continues to do what it's supposed to do. Process food, pump blood, everything else that we've always talked about. And it is supporting our spiritual being with the opportunity to experience this. And all of the thises that all of y'all go through every single day. You're doing this because our body, this magnificent thing, works. This week, while you're out doing whatever you're doing, notice the thoughts you have about your body. Are you guys like, besties? How you doing, bestie? Do you say good things about your body? Do you tell it that you love it? Or do you have a love-hate relationship with it? And remember, when you think bad about it and when you talk bad about it, you're thinking bad and talking bad about Gus. I'd like to share with you a poem by Holly Holden. It's called Today I Asked My Body What She Needed. Holly is a woman. And so this poem is from the she point of view, but it really does apply to everybody. And guys, we got a little feminine energy in it, so just pay attention just a little bit. Today, I asked my body what she needed, which is really a big deal considering my journey of not really asking that much. I thought she might need some more water, or protein, or greens, or yoga, or supplements, or movement. But as I stood in the shower, reflecting on her stretch marks, her roundness where I'd like flatness, her softness where I'd like firmness, all these conditioned wishes that form a bundle of never quite rightness. And she whispered very gently, could you just love me like this? This is what this is. Could you love this just the way it is? I bet you could. And you know what? Your body will love you back in a very big way. Namaste.